Donald Trump appears to have made a major concession to North Korea following his joint agreement with Kim Jong-un, ending joint military exercises with South Korea that he deemed provocative and tremendously expensive. He said he also hoped to bring home the 32,000 U.S. troops stationed in South Korea at some point in the future, but acknowledged such a move was not part of the equation right now. In a press conference lasting more than an hour, Mr. Trump also said the North had begun dismantling a major missile engine testing site, and he praised Mr. Kim as very talented. The U.S. president had earlier said the unprecedented summit, held in Singapore, had gone better than anybody could have expected. Please allow a moment for the Live blog to load live updates. Mr. Trump and Mr. Kim signed what Mr. Trump claimed was a comprehensive document following the historic meeting aimed at the denuclearization of the Korean peninsula. The president said he believed the process of denuclearization would happen very quickly, adding that he had formed a special bond with Mr. Kim. Mr. Kim, who has been granted a measure of international legitimacy with the summit, said the two leaders had decided to leave the past behind. The world will see a major change. In the first meeting of the sitting U.S. president and a North Korean leader, the pair convened at a luxury resort on Singapore's Sentosa island, clasping hands as they stood on a red carpet in front of a backdrop of alternating U.S. and North Korean flags. Mr. Trump was first to arrive at the summit site, followed by Mr. Kim, both readying for the 9 a.m. meeting that culminated dizzying weeks of negotiations over logistics and policy. The pair started the momentous Singapore Summit with an historic handshake for the world's media before getting down to talks about North Korea's nuclear program. Mr. Trump and Mr. Kim met one-on-one for about 40 minutes, joined only by translators. Then aides to each arrived for more discussions and a working lunch.The U.S. president said the meetings went better than anybody could have expected after the pair emerged from lunch and strolled together down a paved walkway before stopping and posing before the waiting news media. Mr. Trump said the meeting is going great.We had a really fantastic meeting. He added that there has been a lot of progress. Really very positive. It is believed that the signing will likely revolve around a promise to keep meeting. The White House said discussions with North Korea have moved more quickly than expected, and Mr. Trump would leave Singapore on Tuesday night after the summit. He had earlier been scheduled to leave on Wednesday.Mr Trump will visit military bases in Guam and Hawaii on his way back to Washington. Singapore Summit, historic first meeting between Trump and Kim Jong-un. 20 Show all Singapore Summit, historic first meeting between Trump and Kim Jong-un. 1/20th Mr. Trump and Mr. Kim leave following their historic meeting. AFP Getty 2/20th Mr. Trump and Mr. Kim sign a document committing to peace between their nations, amongst other things. EPA 3/20th Mr. Trump holds up a document that both he and Mr. Kim have signed. AFP Getty 4/20th The two leaders reach out to shake hands for the first time. AP 5/20th Mr. Trump and Mr. Kim shake hands as they meet for the first time. Reuters 6/20th Mr. Trump and Mr. Kim walk off stage following their historic meeting. Reuters 7/20th Mr. Trump and Mr. Kim take a stroll after their meeting on June 12th. Reuters 8/20th Mr. Trump and Mr. Kim interrupt their stroll to talk to the media. AP 9/20th Mr. Kim and Mr. Trump look out over a balcony at the Capella Hotel, where they held their meeting on June 12th. Reuters 10/20th Mr. Trump takes questions at the press conference following his meeting with Mr. Kim. AP 11/20th Mr. Trump appreciates the crowd in the press conference following his meeting with Mr. Kim. Getty 12/20th Mr. Trump travels to the Astana ahead of the summit with Kim Jong-un on June 12th. Reuters 13/20th Kim Jong-un travels to the Astana ahead of the summit with President Trump on June 12th. Reuters 14/20th Mr. Kim poses for a photo with Singapore's Finance Minister Vivian Balakrishnan and Education Minister Ong Ye Kung ahead of the summit with Mr. Trump. Twitter Reuters 15/20th Mr. Trump shakes hands with Singapore Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong, meeting on Monday, June 11th in the Astana, Singapore's presidential palace. AP 16/20th At a working lunch on Monday, Singapore's Prime Minister surprised Mr. Trump with a birthday cake, an early celebration of his 72nd birthday. Later in the week, EPA 1720th U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo answered questions about the summit at a press briefing in Singapore on Monday, June 11. Getty 1820th U.S. President Donald Trump arrives at the Paya Lebar Air Base in Singapore on June 10, 2 days prior to his summit with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. Reuters 1920th Mr. Trump and Mr. Kim met on Tuesday, June 12 in the Capella Hotel on the island resort of Sentosa, just off the south coast of Singapore. AFP Getty 2020th Mr. Trump boards Air Force One following the summit. AFP Getty teams of officials from both sides held working-level talks on Monday. Senior officials traveling with Mr. Trump included Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, National Security Advisor John Bolton and White House Chief of Staff John Kelly. As Mr. Trump was traveling to the Capella Hotel, which was the site of the summit, he surprisingly tweeted about another senior official, economic advisor Larry Kudlow, with Mr. Trump saying he had had a heart attack. The White House later said that Mr. Kudlow was in a good condition in hospital, having suffered a very mild heart attack. Mr. Kim's delegation consisted of Foreign Minister Ri Yong Ho, Defense Minister No Kwang Chol and Kim Yong Chol, a close aide of Kim who has been instrumental in the diplomacy that culminated in Tuesday's summit. Kim Yo-jong, Leader Kim's younger sister, was also spotted in his delegation. She emerged as an influential figure in Pyongyang's opaque leadership in February, when she led a North Korean delegation to the Winter Olympics in South Korea. When Mr. Trump initially agreed to meet with the North Korean leader, the U.S. president spoke of his hope that their encounter could secure a major breakthrough and lead to the denuclearization of the Korean peninsula. If so, then the meeting would be the most important since Ronald Reagan met with Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev in Geneva in November 1985. Mr. Trump has since sought to play down expectations, saying that the meeting will be an important first step, but that securing a deal will likely take many more meetings. Given that what the US wants to get out of the summit, a rapid denuclearization of the Korean peninsula, may be different to what North Korea wants, there may be many such meetings. Many observers will be looking to see whether Mr. Trump does extend an invitation to his counterpart to visit the White House.